The rain hammered against my studio windows like an accusation I wasn't ready to face. 3 days. That's how long Zara had been gone on her wellness retreat in Vermont, and already the silence in our house felt permanent. I sat at my desk, scrolling through drone footage from last week's wedding shoot when her phone call came through. "Hey, babe." Her voice sparkled with that manufactured enthusiasm she used for clients. "Just finished my morning meditation. The mountains here are incredible." I glanced at my weather app. Vermont was sunny. The background noise on her call sounded distinctly urban. Car horns, not bird songs. "Sounds peaceful," I said, watching raindrops race down the glass. "When do you think you'll be back?" "Sunday night, like I told you. Maybe Monday morning if the roads are bad." A pause. "I should go. We're about to start our chakra alignment session." Chakra alignment. Right. Zara couldn't align a picture frame, let alone her chakras. After she hung up, I opened her location sharing app, something we'd set up for emergencies. The little blue dot pulsed steadily from downtown Portland, not the Green Mountain Wellness Center she'd supposedly booked. My stomach dropped, but my mind went cold and sharp. I'd been a commercial drone photographer for 8 years, which meant I knew how to track movement patterns, analyze footage for inconsistencies, and most importantly, how to gather evidence without being detected. The same skills that helped me catch insurance fraud for law firms could apparently catch cheating wives. I pulled up Zara's social media accounts. Her main Instagram showed nothing recent, but I knew she had a secondary account she thought I didn't know about, the one she used for girls' nights and work events where she wanted to look single. A few clicks through mutual friends' stories, and there it was. A mirror selfie from this morning, tagged at the Eastland Park Hotel, downtown Portland. She was wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. The betrayal hit like a physical blow, but what surprised me was how quickly the hurt transformed into something else. Something calculating. My phone buzzed with a text from Terry, my oldest friend and occasional assistant. "Want to grab a beer? Jenny's working late again." "Rain check," I replied. "Working on something." I spent the next 2 hours methodically documenting everything. Screenshots, timestamps, location data. If Zara wanted to play games, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I'd built my business on attention to detail and patience. Both were about to serve me well. By evening, I had a complete picture. The Eastland Park Hotel, room service charges on our joint credit card, and most damning of all, a pocket dial from her phone around 2 p.m. that had gone to voicemail. 3 minutes of audio featuring Zara's laughter and a man's voice I didn't recognize, discussing dinner plans and something about when your husband stops calling. Husband. Not Aiden, not even my name, just husband, like I was an inconvenience to be managed. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat in my leather chair, staring out at the storm. The smart play would be to confront her directly, demand answers, maybe suggest counseling. That's what the old Aiden would have done, the one who believed in fair fights and honest conversations. But the old Aiden hadn't been lied to with such casual cruelty. The old Aiden hadn't heard himself reduced to an obstacle in his wife's romantic planning. I opened my laptop and started making lists, bank accounts, insurance policies, shared assets. Our lease was in my name, thank God, but everything else was tangled together like a knot designed to strangle whoever tried to untie it first. The bourbon burned warm in my chest as I worked. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside I felt perfectly calm. Zara had made her choice. Now I'd make mine. My phone rang again around 10 p.m. Zara probably calling to maintain her cover story. "Hey," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. "Did I wake you? You sound tired." "Just working on some client footage. How was your day?" "Amazing. We did this incredible guided hike, and tonight we're having a group meditation under the stars." The lie rolled off her tongue like she'd been practicing. "I really think this is exactly what I needed." "I'm glad you're getting what you need," I said, and meant it in ways she couldn't imagine. After we hung up, I opened a new document on my computer and titled it Project Wellness. If Zara wanted to find herself, I'd make sure she discovered exactly who she really was. Friday night found me at Vespers, the wine bar downtown that used to be St. Matthew's Episcopal Church. Zara and I had come here for our third date, back when she still laughed at my jokes instead of at me. The vaulted ceilings and stained glass windows gave the place an atmosphere of confessional intimacy, appropriate, considering what I was about to learn. I'd come alone, telling myself I needed to get out of the house before I did something stupid like drive to the Eastland Park and confront whatever was happening in room 412. The bourbon at home had been calling to me too loudly, and I knew better than to make decisions while drunk and angry. The place was busy for a Friday, filled with Portland's arts crowd and young professionals pretending to understand wine. I'd claimed a corner table and was nursing a glass of something red and expensive when I saw her. Lyra Ventrix glided through the crowd like she owned it, which, knowing her family's money, she practically did. At 31, she was everything Zara aspired to be, genuinely wealthy instead of just well-paid, effortlessly beautiful instead of Instagram perfect, and connected to everyone who mattered in Portland's cultural scene. As the curator for the Meridian Gallery, she moved in circles that Zara desperately wanted to penetrate. She was also supposed to be in Vermont. Lyra spotted me before I could look away, her perfectly shaped eyebrows rising in what looked like genuine surprise. She approached my table with the fluid grace of someone who'd never doubted her welcome anywhere. "Aiden, what are you doing here?" She slid into the chair across from me without waiting for an invitation. "Aren't you supposed to be missing your wife terribly while she's on her spiritual journey?" The question hit like a slap. "I could ask you the same thing. Aren't you on the trip?" Lyra's smile shifted, becoming something sharper and more knowing. She leaned back in her chair, studying me with the same intensity she probably used to evaluate paintings for acquisition. "She's with her lover," she said simply. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. I felt my face go carefully blank, the same expression I used when clients tried to lowball my rates. "Excuse me? Oh, come on, Aiden. You're smarter than that." Lyra signaled the waitress for wine. "Zara's been seeing someone for months. I thought you knew. And you didn't think to mention this before?" "Not my business," she said, with a shrug that probably cost more than my car payment. "Besides, I figured you were getting something on the side too. Most men do." The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. This was Zara's closest friend, someone who'd been in our home dozens of times, who'd smiled at me over dinner and asked about my work and acted like she gave a damn about our marriage. "Who is he?" Lyra's wine arrived, a glass of something that probably cost $40. She took a delicate sip before answering. "Damien Kessler. He runs some tech startup, married to a surgeon. They've been meeting at the Eastland Park every few weeks." She pulled out her phone and started scrolling. "She's been posting about it on her secret Instagram. Want to see?" She turned the screen toward me. There was Zara, radiant in a way I hadn't seen in months, wrapped in a hotel bathrobe and laughing at something off camera. The timestamp showed this morning. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to take what makes you happy. No regrets. Living my truth." "There are more," Lyra said, swiping through photos. Zara at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. Zara in lingerie I'd never seen. Zara looking happier than she'd looked with me in over a year. I handed the phone back, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I like you. You're real, Aiden. You work for what you have. You don't pretend to be something you're not." She leaned forward, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something French and expensive. "Zara's become exhausting. All she talks about is image and advancement and who can help her get to the next level. She's using him, you know, this Damien guy. She thinks he can get her into the right social circles. And what does he get out of it?" A beautiful young woman who tells him he's brilliant and powerful. His wife's a cardiac surgeon. She probably hasn't had time to stroke his ego in years. The picture was becoming clearer, and I didn't like what I was seeing. Not just betrayal, but calculated betrayal. Zara hadn't fallen in love. She'd made a business decision. "There's something else," Lyra said quietly. "She's been talking about leaving you. After she gets what she needs from Damien, connections, maybe a job at his company, she's planning to file for divorce. She wants to make sure she's financially secure first." The final piece clicked into place. Our joint accounts, the life insurance policy where she was the beneficiary, the way she'd been encouraging me to take on bigger commercial contracts, building up assets she could claim in a divorce. I'd been played, thoroughly and completely played. "I'm sorry," Lyra said, and for the first time since she'd sat down, she sounded genuinely sympathetic. "I know this is a lot." I finished my wine in one swallow, feeling the alcohol burn away the last of my shock. What remained was something cold and focused. "It is a lot," I agreed. "But I'm glad I know." Lyra studied my face. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing dramatic? Nothing stupid?" I stood up, pulling out my wallet. "But I'm not going to sit around waiting for her to destroy me on her timeline." "Good for you." Lyra smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "You know, if you need someone to talk to while you're figuring things out, I'm around. We could have dinner sometime. Actually talk instead of pretending everything's perfect." The offer hung in the air like a challenge. Lyra Ventrix asking me out. 6 months ago, I would have been flattered but loyal. Now, with Zara's betrayal fresh in my mind, it felt like an opportunity. "Forget her," Lyra added, her voice dropping to something almost intimate. "Dinner with me tonight?" I was shocked by how quickly I wanted to say yes, not because I was attracted to Lyra, though I was, but because I could see exactly how it would look. Zara's husband, publicly moving on with her beautiful, wealthy friend. The humiliation would be exquisite. "I'd like that," I said. Saturday morning brought clarity along with my hangover. Dinner with Lyra had been educational. She'd taken me to 4th Street, the kind of restaurant where Zara always claimed we couldn't afford to eat. Over perfectly prepared halibut and a bottle of wine that cost more than my monthly car payment, Lyra had filled in the details of my wife's double life. The affair had started 4 months ago at a networking event. Damien Kessler, 38, married father of 2, CEO of a company that developed software for medical practices. His wife, Dr. Sarah Kessler, worked 60-hour weeks at Maine Medical Center. According to Lyra, Damien was the type of man who needed constant validation, and Zara had recognized that immediately. "She's always been good at reading people," Lyra had said over dessert. "It's what makes her effective at her job. She figures out what people want to hear and then she says it." What Damien wanted to hear, apparently, was that he was brilliant and underappreciated and deserved better than a wife who was too busy saving lives to properly admire him. What Zara wanted was access to his network of successful professionals and maybe a job at his company when she was ready to leave her current position. It was a transaction disguised as romance, and I'd been the collateral damage. Now, sitting in my home office with coffee and a clear head, I opened my laptop and got to work. If Zara wanted to play chess, I'd show her what a real strategist looked like. First, the finances. I spent 2 hours on the phone with our bank, explaining that I suspected fraudulent activity on our joint accounts. Not technically true, but not technically false either. Zara using our money to fund her affair felt pretty fraudulent to me. I didn't close the accounts, which would have been too obvious, but I did add additional security measures that would flag any large transactions for my approval. Next, insurance. I called our agent and requested forms to update beneficiaries, claiming I wanted to add my parents as secondary beneficiaries for estate planning purposes. What I actually did was remove Zara as the primary beneficiary on my life insurance policy, replacing her with a trust I'd set up years ago for tax purposes. If something happened to me, she'd get nothing. The credit cards were trickier, but I managed to add spending alerts that would notify me of any charges over $50. I wanted to know exactly how much of our money she was spending on her new relationship. By noon, I'd quietly locked down our financial life without doing anything that would immediately raise red flags. Zara could still access the accounts, but she couldn't drain them without my knowledge. My phone buzzed with a text from Terry. "How'd last night go? Saw your Instagram post." Right, the Instagram post. At Lyra's suggestion, I'd posted a single photo from dinner. Nothing obvious, just the two of us smiling over wine glasses, with the caption, "Great conversation and even better company." I'd tagged the restaurant, and, at Lyra's insistence, several of Zara's work colleagues who followed my account. The post had gotten more likes than anything I'd shared in months, including several comments from people asking if that was Lyra Ventrix from the gallery. The Portland art scene was small enough that everyone knew everyone, and being seen with Lyra was social currency. "Dinner was enlightening," I texted back. "Want to help me with a project?" Terry arrived an hour later with sandwiches from Holy Donut and his usual arsenal of questions. At 33, he was 2 years younger than me, but looked older, thanks to a decade of construction work and a refusal to use sunscreen. He'd been my best friend since college, and more importantly, he was one of the few people who'd never been impressed by Zara's charm. "So," he said, settling into my couch with a beer. "Lyra Ventrix. How the hell did that happen?" I told him everything. The fake wellness retreat, the hotel receipts, the affair, Lyra's revelation at the wine bar. Terry listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each detail. "Jesus Christ, Aiden, I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry, be useful." I opened my laptop and showed him what I'd been working on. "I need help with surveillance." What I had in mind wasn't illegal, just thorough. I wanted to document everything: where Zara went, who she met with, how she spent her time and our money. I had the technical skills to track her phone and monitor her social media, but I needed someone to handle the physical surveillance when necessary. "You want me to follow your wife around like some creepy private investigator?" "I want you to help me gather evidence for the divorce. If she's planning to leave me anyway, I want to make sure I'm prepared." Terry cracked his knuckles, a habit he'd had since we were 20. "What kind of evidence?" "Photos of her with Kessler. Documentation of where our money is going. Proof that she's been planning this for months." I pulled up the screenshots I'd taken of her secret Instagram account. "She's been living a double life, Terry. I want to make sure everyone knows it." "Everyone?" "Her boss, her colleagues, her friends, the people she's been lying to while she pretends to be the perfect wife." I felt that cold focus settling over me again. "She wants to control the narrative when she leaves me. I'm not going to let that happen." Terry studied the photos, shaking his head. "She looks happy." "She is happy. She's getting everything she wants: excitement, validation, financial security, and an exit strategy. The only thing she's not getting is consequences." "And you want to change that?" "I want to level the playing field." We spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Terry would handle the physical surveillance when needed, while I managed the digital side. We'd document everything, but do nothing that could be traced back to us. No confrontations, no drama, just careful collection of evidence. "What about Lyra?" Terry asked as we wrapped up. "She seems pretty eager to help you stick it to Zara." "Lyra has her own reasons for wanting Zara out of the picture. I'm not going to look too closely at her motives as long as they align with mine." "Just be careful, man. Rich women like that, they don't do anything without an angle." "Neither do I said. "Not anymore." That evening, I got a call from Zara. She sounded relaxed and happy, probably fresh from another afternoon with Damien. "Hey babe, how was your day?" "Quiet. Worked on some editing, had lunch with Terry. All true. How's the retreat? Incredible. I feel like I'm discovering parts of myself I'd forgotten existed. The irony was so thick I could taste it. I think I'm going to extend the trip by a day. There's a workshop on Sunday that sounds amazing. Of course there is. I kept my voice neutral. Take all the time you need. You're the best. I love you. Love you too, I lied. After she hung up, I opened my laptop and got back to work. If Zara wanted to discover herself, I'd make sure she found out exactly who she really was. Sunday's Arts Festival was one of those Portland events that brought everyone out. Families with strollers, college students, tourists with cameras, and the entire local arts scene preening for each other under the late summer sun. I'd been to it every year since moving to Portland, usually with Zara, who treated it as a networking opportunity, disguised as cultural appreciation. This year, I was going with Lyra. She'd suggested it over coffee that morning, when I'd filled her in on Zara's decision to extend her retreat by another day. Lyra had smiled that sharp smile of hers and said it would be perfect. Everyone would be there, including several of Zara's colleagues and the gallery board members she'd been trying to impress. Let them see you moving on, Lyra had said. Let them see that you're not sitting at home pining away while she plays house with her tech bro. Now, walking through Deering Oaks Park with Lyra's arm linked through mine, I had to admit she was right. The looks we were getting were worth the price of admission. Lyra Ventrix was Portland art scene royalty, and being seen with her was like wearing a designer suit. It changed how people perceived you. There's Margaret Chen from the Portland Museum, Lyra murmured, nodding toward a woman in an expensive blazer. She's on the board at Zara's company. Should we say hello? We did, and Margaret's surprise at seeing me with Lyra was obvious. The conversation was brief but pointed. Margaret asked about Zara. I mentioned she was finding herself at a wellness retreat, and Lyra smoothly changed the subject to her upcoming exhibition. But I caught Margaret's eyes lingering on us as we walked away. One down, Lyra said quietly. The festival was spread across several blocks, with local artists displaying their work alongside food trucks and a main stage featuring live music. Lyra knew everyone, and she made sure we stopped to chat with all the right people. Each conversation followed the same pattern: surprise at seeing me without Zara, polite questions about her absence, and Lyra's subtle implications that perhaps Zara's priorities had shifted. She's been so focused on her career lately, Lyra would say, with just the right amount of concern. Sometimes I worry she's losing sight of what really matters. It was masterful character assassination disguised as friendly concern, and I found myself genuinely impressed by Lyra's skill. No wonder she'd risen so quickly in the gallery world. Around 2 o'clock, we were examining a sculpture installation when my phone buzzed with a text from Terry. Package delivered. I smiled, knowing that meant he'd successfully placed the envelope I'd prepared on the windshield of Damien Kessler's BMW. The envelope contained printouts of Zara's secret Instagram posts, along with a note, "Your wife might want to see these. A concerned friend." It was petty, but it would accomplish 2 things. It would let Damien's wife know what her husband was up to, and it would create chaos in Zara's carefully controlled double life. By tonight, Dr. Sarah Kessler would be asking her husband some very uncomfortable questions. "You look pleased with yourself," Lyra observed. "Just enjoying the festival." She studied my face with those sharp eyes. "You know, there's something I should probably tell you about Zara." We'd stopped near the main stage where a local jazz quartet was setting up. The crowd was thick here, and I had to lean close to hear her over the noise. "What about her?" "She's been asking questions. About me, about my family's money, about the gallery's board of directors." Lyra's voice was carefully neutral. "I think she's been trying to figure out how to use our friendship to advance her career." "That doesn't surprise me." "It should insult you, though. She's been planning to leave you, but she wanted to make sure she had a backup plan first. She thought she could use me as a reference when she applied for positions at other galleries. The casual cruelty of it hit me again. Even Zara's friendships were transactional, calculated moves in some larger game I'd been too naive to see. Did you tell her you'd help? I told her I'd consider it. Lyra's smile was razor sharp. I didn't mention that I'd already decided she wasn't gallery material. Too obvious, too hungry. Collectors can smell desperation, and it makes them nervous. We were interrupted by a commotion near the information booth. Someone was arguing with the festival volunteers, gesturing angrily at the large digital display screen that showed social media posts tagged with the festival's hashtag. "What's going on over there?" I asked. Lyra stood on her toes to see over the crowd. "I'm not sure, but oh my God." "What?" "Look at the screen." I followed her gaze to the digital display, which was cycling through Instagram and Twitter posts from festival attendees. Most were the usual shots of art installations and food trucks, but as I watched, a very different image appeared. It was a screenshot of a text conversation. Zara's name was clearly visible at the top, and the messages were explicit, very and very clearly not intended for her husband. "How did that get up there?" I asked, though I was pretty sure I knew. "Someone must have tagged it with the festival hashtag," Lyra said, but her tone suggested she knew more than she was letting on. "The display system automatically pulls in tagged content." The crowd around the information booth was growing, with people pointing at the screen and taking photos with their phones. I recognized several faces, colleagues of Zara's, gallery board members, people from the arts community who knew us both. "We should go," I said. "Should we?" Lyra's eyes were bright with something that might have been excitement. "This is quite a development." As we watched, more screenshots appeared on the display. Text messages, Instagram DMs, even what looked like hotel receipts. Someone had done a very thorough job of documenting Zara's affair, and now it was being broadcast to half of Portland's cultural elite. My phone started buzzing with notifications, text messages, social media tags, missed calls. The story was spreading faster than wildfire. "Aiden." The voice came from behind me, and I turned to see Margaret Chen approaching with several other people I recognized from Zara's work events. "I'm so sorry. This must be incredibly embarrassing for you." "I'm managing," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Where is Zara? Shouldn't she be here to explain this?" "She's still at her wellness retreat," I said. "I'm sure she'll have a lot to explain when she gets back." Margaret's expression suggested she doubted there would be much to explain. The evidence on the screen was pretty conclusive. More people approached as the afternoon wore on, offering sympathy and asking questions I couldn't answer. Lyra stayed close, playing the role of supportive friend perfectly. She deflected the worst of the attention while making sure everyone understood that I was the wronged party here. By 4 o'clock, the festival volunteers had figured out how to filter the display content, but the damage was done. Screenshots were circulating on social media, group chats were buzzing with gossip, and Zara's carefully maintained reputation was in ruins. My phone rang. Zara's number. "I should take this," I told Lyra. "Aiden?" Zara's voice was panicked. "What the hell is happening? People are calling me, sending me screenshots." "I don't know," I said honestly. "Someone posted your private messages at the arts festival. It's been quite a scene." "My private messages? What private messages?" "The ones with Damien, I assume, though I haven't seen them all." Silence. Then, "How do you know about Damien?" "Everyone knows about Damien now, Zara. The question is what you're going to do about it." "I'm coming home. Tonight." "Probably a good idea." She hung up without saying goodbye. Lyra appeared at my elbow with 2 glasses of wine. "How did she take it?" "About as well as you'd expect." I accepted the wine gratefully. "She's coming home tonight." "Good. It's time you two had an honest conversation. I looked at her carefully. Lyra, did you have anything to do with those screenshots getting posted? She met my gaze steadily. I have no idea what you're talking about. But her smile suggested otherwise. Monday morning brought a reckoning that had been months in the making. Zara's car pulled into our driveway at 6:47 a.m., and I watched from the kitchen window as she sat behind the wheel for a full 5 minutes before getting out. Even from a distance, I could see the exhaustion in her posture. I'd been awake since 5, drinking coffee and preparing for what was coming. The festival had been a nuclear bomb dropped on Zara's carefully constructed double life, but I knew she'd try to salvage what she could. She was nothing if not resourceful. The front door opened, and she walked in carrying her weekend bag and what looked like the weight of the world. She'd clearly been crying. Her makeup was smudged, and her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. I figured. She dropped her bag by the door and followed me into the kitchen. I poured her coffee, black, the way she liked it when she was stressed, and waited. "How long have you known?" she asked finally. "About Damien? Since Friday night. About you planning to leave me? Since Saturday." Her face went pale. "How? Does it matter? The question is what happens now." Zara wrapped her hands around the coffee mug like it was an anchor. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair for 4 months while planning your exit strategy. You've been using our joint accounts to fund hotel rooms and dinners with another man. You've been lying to me every single day while pretending to be the perfect wife." I kept my voice calm, conversational. "Did I miss anything? You don't understand? I understand perfectly. You were bored with our marriage, attracted to someone who seemed more successful and smart enough to line up your next opportunity before burning your bridges. It's actually pretty impressive, strategically speaking." She stared at me like I was a stranger. "You're not even angry." "I was angry. Now I'm just tired. Aiden, I never meant for it to happen like this. Damien and I, it started as just networking and then you realized he could give you things I couldn't. Access to better social circles, potentially a job at his company, maybe a lifestyle upgrade if you played your cards right. That's not... It's exactly that, Zara. You saw an opportunity and you took it. I don't even blame you for that part. What I blame you for is the lying, the pretending, the way you made me feel like I was crazy for noticing that something was wrong." She started crying then, the kind of ugly crying that ruins makeup and makes people look human. "I'm sorry. God, Aiden, I'm so sorry." "Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. My phone buzzed with a text from Terry. "Package 2 delivered. Check your email." I opened my laptop and found what I was expecting. Photos of Damien Kessler's BMW with 4 flat tires, taken in the Eastland Park Hotel parking garage. Terry had also managed to get shots of hotel security reviewing camera footage, which meant Damien's little problem was now documented by multiple sources. "What's that?" Zara asked, trying to see the screen. "Looks like your boyfriend is having car trouble." Her phone rang before she could respond. She looked at the caller ID and her face went white. "It's him," she whispered. "You should answer it." She did, putting the phone on speaker either by accident or because she was too rattled to think clearly. "Zara? Jesus Christ, what the hell happened yesterday?" Damien's voice was tight with panic. "Sarah saw the screenshots. She's talking about divorce, taking the kids. My business partners are asking questions. This is a disaster." I know. Aiden and I are trying to figure out." "Aiden knows?" "He's known since Friday." "Since Friday? And you didn't think to warn me?" "I was trying to handle it." "Handle it? Handle it?" My life is falling apart, Zara. My marriage, my business, everything. And you were trying to handle it? I leaned forward and spoke into the phone. "Hello, Damien. This is Aiden." Silence. Then, "Oh, hell." Eloquent. "I can see why my wife was attracted to you. Look, man, I'm sorry. This whole thing got out of hand." "Did it?" Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you and Zara had everything planned out pretty carefully. The hotel room, the secret social media accounts, the financial arrangements. That doesn't seem like something that just got out of hand. We never meant to hurt anyone. You just didn't care if you did. Zara grabbed the phone. Damien, I'll call you back. She hung up and stared at me. How are you so calm about this? Because I've had time to process it, and because I've been busy. Busy with what? I opened another browser tab and showed her the screen. It was the website for her company's HR department, specifically the page about conflict of interest policies and ethics violations. I sent them an email yesterday, I said, about your relationship with a potential client. Damien's company has been pitching your firm for a partnership deal, hasn't it? That creates some interesting ethical questions about your personal relationship with their CEO. Her face went from pale to gray. You didn't. I did. I also sent them copies of your expense reports from the last 4 months, with some interesting patterns highlighted. Hotel charges, restaurant bills, all on days when you claimed to be working late or attending professional development events. Those weren't company expenses. No, but they were lies on official documents, and they demonstrate a pattern of deception that your employer might find concerning. Zara stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. You're trying to destroy my career. I'm trying to make sure there are consequences for your choices. You wanted to blow up our marriage? Fine. But you don't get to walk away clean while I pick up the pieces. What do you want from me? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to stop pretending you're the victim here, and I want you to sign these. I pulled out the divorce papers I'd had prepared over the weekend. No alimony, 50-50 split of assets acquired during the marriage, and you're responsible for any debts incurred during your affair. She stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. You can't be serious. Absolutely serious. You can sign them now, or we can let lawyers sort it out while your employer investigates your ethics violations and Damien's wife takes him for everything he's worth in their divorce. Your choice. This is blackmail. This is consequences. My phone rang. Lyra. Excuse me, I told Zara and answered. How's the homecoming going? Lyra asked. About as expected. What's up? I just got a call from Margaret Chen. Apparently, Zara's company is conducting an internal investigation into some ethics concerns. They've asked the gallery to postpone any potential partnerships until it's resolved. I looked at Zara, who was staring at me with growing horror. That's unfortunate, I said. Very unfortunate, especially since I was planning to recommend Zara for a position on our events committee. I suppose that's off the table now. I suppose it is. After I hung up, Zara sank back into her chair. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I've tried to be thorough. What about Lyra? She's been helping you, hasn't she? Lyra's been a good friend during a difficult time. A good friend. Zara laughed bitterly. She's wanted you for years, you know. She's been waiting for an opportunity like this. Maybe. Or maybe she just doesn't like people who use friendship as a transaction. Zara picked up the divorce papers and read through them slowly. If I sign these, what happens to the investigation at work? That's out of my hands now, but I imagine it'll go easier if you're cooperative and honest about what happened. And if I don't sign? Then we do this the hard way. Public divorce, financial discovery, character witnesses. I'm sure Damien would love to testify about your relationship and his business dealings with your company. She was quiet for a long time, staring at the papers. Finally, she looked up at me. I really did love you once, she said. I know. I loved you too. When did it stop being enough? I don't know. Maybe when you decided I wasn't enough. She signed the papers with shaking hands, each signature sealing the end of our marriage and the beginning of whatever came next. What happens now? She asked. Now you pack your things and figure out your next move. You've got 30 days to find a new place. And us? There is no us, Zara. There hasn't been for months. The only difference is now we're both honest about it. She left that afternoon, taking only what she could fit in her car. I watched from the kitchen window as she loaded suitcases and boxes, probably heading to whatever temporary arrangement she'd worked out with Damien or Lyra or whoever else was willing to take her in. As her car disappeared down the street, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. The house was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet than before. This wasn't the silence of secrets and lies. This was the silence of truth, finally spoken. My phone buzzed with a text from Terry. "How did it go?" "It's done," I replied. "Good. Want to grab a beer?" "Yeah, I think I do. But first, I had one more call to make." "Lyra, it's Aiden. She signed the papers." "Good. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. Listen, about that dinner invitation." "Yes? I think I'm ready to take you up on it." Her laugh was warm and genuine. "I was hoping you'd say that." As I hung up, I realized that for the first time in months, I was looking forward to what came next. Zara had taught me that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones planning to hurt you most. But she'd also taught me that I was stronger than I thought, smarter than she'd given me credit for, and more than capable of fighting back when cornered. It wasn't the ending I'd planned for my marriage, but it was the ending I'd earned. And sometimes, that had to be enough.